Hey everyone, Sarah at Nova. And before we get started talking about motorcycles this week, a couple of things to plug shamelessly. First of all, I want to remind everybody that you're available to talk to me via video chat at any point. You can go to our website to figure it out, www.novamotorcycles.com. Basically, if you have need some help on a project, rebuilding your carbs, figuring out an electrical problem, getting into your motor, learning how to change a tire. If I can tell you how to do it virtually, I'm glad to talk you through it. So just a little plug for that. Secondly, we have our 2025 calendars in stock now, ready to ship for the holidays, full of a bunch of cool bikes, including one we'll be talking about today. We got a mix of new and old, and basically these are all bikes that have come through the shop this year and we think are either really cool, really beautiful, or both. And then thirdly, we had a great time being back just before Thanksgiving on the Motorcycles and Misfits podcast, episode 601, I think. So if you get a chance, check it out, listen to us. We had a great chat with those people, really good vibes out there, really fun chat, and we just love hanging out with people who like to do what we do too. It's pretty good. So this week we're just going to start by seeing where we are. It's getting into early winter now, late fall. And we're switching gears a little bit for some of the bigger long-term projects. Some stuff you'll see if you watch these videos a lot, you'll recognize we still have. Yeah, new and the old. Our CZ 125 now is a 150. Finally got the paint back for the third time. This tank has been a nightmare. And ready for me to do some finishing touches on it now, finally, and fire it up. So that will be soon, finally, get that thing off the bench. We have yet another Vespa in here. This one, actually, we had to wait for some parts on it for a while. We had to do some minor violence on this to get this thing to unstick. This thing has been left out for far too long. Now we got it back on stock. We got some pieces for it they've been waiting for, and gonna get this thing going pretty darn soon. The Honda Hawk that we talked about a couple videos ago. And I want to point out in that video, the front end was a factor that people mentioned. I was shooting from the hip on it. This is not the stock front end on this bike. So if you're watching these videos and you reached out, you are correct. This is from a CBR 600, I think an F2, but it's an upgrade from the stock Hawk one. So it's a little beefier, twin discs, whereas the stock had a single disc. So I was wrong about that in the video. Cameraman Todd has been doing that. 650s on eBay. Now Todd wants one. Yeah. They're great bikes. So, and then we have here a GPZ 1100, early fuel injection. This is what an early throttle body rack looks like. Pretty simple. Air filter's in the way. A little grungy. This bike's seen a little worse for the wear, but getting resurrected. And we're going through a little bit of motor stuff that was confusing for the owner. The owner wasn't sure about, and going through some electrical stuff, which as it relates to the fueling. And then switching gears completely, Harley twin cam in here for cam upgrade, or cam tensioner really. If you know anything about these bikes, they were notorious for the cam chain tensioners failing. It all fits in this timing chest down here. Here's your end of your crank, but then you have your two cams, cam chain, driven by a cam chain, up to your push rods, up to your valve gear. But when that cam tensioner goes from the factory, has a factory flaw, the whole thing, you can take out your, a bunch of stuff can go out in here. You can take out your top end, your valves. It can be really ugly. So this guy wanted to get ahead of it, and his bike was running great, but he said, you know what, I'm not sure about that, so let's go in there and do it. So we're putting in a fueling upgrade. Fueling is an aftermarket Harley parts keep. They make all sorts of stuff that make Harleys just a little bit better. So nice to have this kind of work in here. We love this stuff. And what else? Oh, how can you go wrong? The mighty Magna. This is a V45 Magna 750, not the bigger one. But in my opinion, one of the ugliest bikes in the history of motorcycles. Some people love them, but this motor, I love this motor. I don't care what it looks like. The V4 750. I even love the 500, the 1000. They're just amazing machines. They have the torque of a twin almost, and they rev out like an inline four. The grunt on it is amazing. The sound on it is amazing, and it's just this is sort of the power cruiser / muscle bike. This is sort of the beginning of this era, around the beginning of this era. Actually, I would say this is the beginning of this era. This was before the VMAX, if I'm correct. 1984. Somebody out there will correct me. I think the VMAX was 85, but again, I am correctable, as we've proven. So Anyway, right at the beginning of the muscle bike thing and power cruiser idea, and just they're great bikes. They can be a little finicky as they age, and believe it or not, stuff for 80s Hondas and 80s Japanese bikes. Hondas maybe more so because their parts has always been so good. Now it's getting a little bit bad. Parts for these bikes are getting hard to find, and I think it's because the old stock is finally getting dried up, and there's not a lot of aftermarket support for these. Whereas the 60s bikes and the 70s bikes, other companies have picked it up. They're making aftermarket stuff, so it's a little bit hard. These can be real finicky to find stuff for sometimes. But when they're going good, they stay going good, and they will pretty much last forever. And they're a ton of fun. So another interesting machine in here. And yeah, everything else over here under wraps. It's boring. So let's get to what we're talking about today, and that is a very special version of a pretty cool bike, which is the Triumph Thruxton. This is the 2019 Thruxton TFC, which was a special edition, 750 made only of this special edition. And you'll notice it's chock full of fancy stuff. It's got its own branded triple tree top yoke. It's carbon fiber all over the place. Carbon fiber fender, carbon fiber fairing, carbon fiber tail section, carbon fiber on the Vance & Hines end caps here, carbon fiber foot protector. So we just got carbon fiber all over the place. And carbon fiber is a very modern touch. And the other thing you'll notice, though, about this bike is, like most of the Triumph, like all of the Triumph Bonneville line, it is a retro bike. It's a parallel twin based on their old Triumph twins, the 650s, the 500s, the 750s, and even the 350s way back in the old days. It's their retro bike, but they've taken the retro thing and they've done a lot of modern upgrades on it. So you look and you see things, as I mentioned, the carbon fiber. You also see upside down Ohlins forks. That's pure sport bike gear right there. That's what you see on R6s, or even better than you see on R6s. Brembo brakes, radial mounted. I mean, that's really good stuff right there. That's just the top of the line kit, basically. I mean, it gets a little bit better than that when you start dropping crazy money, but you don't really get much better on a production bike. And again, Ohlins shocks on the rear. You just have all the good stuff, so to speak. Fuel injected, obviously, but the funny thing about the fuel injection, let me grab a little prop here for a second. True to their retro form, their throttle bodies are shaped like old monoblock carburetors. This one's a little backwards because we're on this side. But you see, whereas the carburetor had a float bowl and the body, this has a fake float bowl and a fake body on it. It doesn't need anything other than the little internal part of that there. But they wanted it to look like their old stuff. And for those who don't know, the Thruxton name comes from the Thruxton race, which was an endurance race that Triumph, I think the 500s won, I want to say 3 years in a row in the 60s. So it has a lot of racing heritage for Triumph. And as you can see on the motor, this is the basic same design as all of their Bonnevilles from the 900s. From the beginning, and it's based off of this old one, which is I think this is a 71 650. But you see the timing chest here has that triangle with the points cover, and you see the angles on the head here. All of this, and even the transmission cover here, all of this is matched over on the modern bike, even though it doesn't have to be. None of this is doing what it was doing over there. It's just for looks. They wanted to keep this shape as it is. That was a pushrod air-cooled motor. This is a double overhead cam. This is, I think this is oil-cooled as well. I think this is a big oil cooler. But I could be wrong. There could be, nope, that's coolant. I'm sorry. This is liquid-cooled. Yeah, I should have known that before I got started. Anyway, liquid-cooled as opposed to the air-cooled, and double overhead cam. Well, modern stuff. Well, this is a modern spec bike. By 2019 standards, for sure. It's up to date. I want to say, so as far as riding this, I haven't ridden this bike in particular. I have ridden the basic 1200 Thruxton Basic, which is a pretty fancy bike, and they are super fun. They feel like completely different machines from a standard Bonneville. It's much more exciting. I'm someone, I like the modern Bonnevilles. I respect them, but I don't love them, the 900s. And this bike really feels a lot different. It's got enough power. My daily rider is a 1200 Buell. This has about the same power as that. Buell has a little more torque, but this feels like a modern machine. If you've ridden a Buell, it's like a powerful tractor. The gearbox sucks. This is a nice 6-speed gearbox. Snicks in, as a sport bike should. Not as good as the fanciest hypersport stuff, but still, it's very respectable for a sport riding machine. And the brakes work, and it just feels really good. So it really is a lot of fun. Now, I mean, there's limits to this. The frame is nothing special, so you wouldn't want to go out and get your knee down like you would on an R6 or even the faster bikes. But you could get close to that. You could approach those things and have a good time. It's not a true sport bike in that it doubles up as a track bike. It's really a very good street bike. So yeah, really interesting. This bike, I think I mentioned before, this bike is in the calendar. I believe it's February. Shot by our very own Todd, who's always behind the camera. Here we go, a little shot of it here. A shot at the studios of Lux Machina, and looking good. So check out our website. I think you can get these from the store on YouTube. If you can't get them there, check out our website at novamotorcycles.com for all that. On the website only? Okay, yeah. So novamotorcycles.com. There is a link on our homepage from the YouTube channel. So yeah, and shameless plug, if you're looking for gifts for other people, the calendars. We also have shirts, hats, other swag, stuff like that. So if you have any motorheads in your family that need Christmas presents, great time to shop. And oh yeah, get a little action of lights being on. It's a good looking bike. And that's about it. If you love these bikes, chime in. If you have experience with them, riding them, please let us know. If you have gotten your knee down on one of these and you say it can be done and it's fine, tell me about it. I want to hear about it. We love that stuff. And as usual, thanks for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do it. It certainly helps us. And we'll see you next time.